Today, I'm going to give you an overview of some of the top performing interactive product demo tools on the market, including HowdyGo, Navattic, Storylane, Supademo, Arcade, Reprise, and Demostack. Unfortunately, there's over 30 different interactive product demo tools on the market, and so I can't cover every single tool, but hopefully this video will still act as a framework and a guide that you can use to compare and contrast different tools, even if you're exploring something that we don't cover in this video. Now, let me address the elephant in the room. I'm one of the co-founders of HowdyGo, which is one of the tools that we'll be discussing today. We've done our very best to create a neutral and balanced video of our competitors' platforms as well as our own. I've also spent the last 4 years of my life thinking about the ways that people demonstrate their products and the specific user experience aspects that I think are really important in a product demo tool in order to make sure that you actually get the value that you're hoping to get out of the platform. We'll mainly be covering HTML interactive product demo tools, where rather than just capturing a screenshot or a video, you're actually replicating the HTML and styles to recreate an interactive walkthrough of your product. It offers more flexibility when editing, a viewing experience that feels like you're really in the app, and the ability to quickly personalize your demos for different prospects. So let's dive into the recording process. We'll also cover editing, AI, sharing, distribution, and of course, price, but that's later in the video. Let's jump into it now. All of these tools provide a Chrome extension. Arcade offers a desktop app as well. It's nearly identical to their Chrome extension, but does offer some additional flexibility for capturing desktop apps. The most natural recording process when creating a demo is probably going to be capturing a flow. That is, you click through your app and the extension creates a new step or screen in the demo. This is the default approach we've taken with HowdyGo, and is something you'll find in other tools as well. Notably, when comparing these platforms, while Reprise did offer a flow capture mode, each screen took a few seconds to process, which was less than ideal. Similar challenges are seen in Storylane, so it's worth keeping in mind as those delays can make the capture process a bit frustrating. Some platforms, including Navattic, also allow you to capture screens manually. That is, you navigate to a screen and then click capture. The downside to this is that you lose the automatic placement of annotations when you get into the editor, which does make the editing process more time-consuming. And deleting unused steps in the editor is really quick in most tools, so you probably won't use this mode often. If you want to include animated effects in your demo, like typing, drag and drop, or little animations, HowdyGo is the only product which automatically records these interactions in HTML, allowing you to toggle them on during editing or make HTML edits to them. The editing process is where the differences between these platforms really starts to become apparent. Broadly speaking, all of the editors, except Navattic, take a what you see is what you get approach to crafting your product demo. Because Navattic is a bit different, let's start with them first and take a look at the main editing UI. As you can see, there's a medium-sized preview image of each step where you can start to fill in your annotations. That will explain what the viewer is seeing and the value proposition of your product. This is an interesting approach to the user experience because it means that they've been able to squeeze a lot of complex functionality into this stage of the editing process, which is helpful if you want to take advantage of some of Navattic's more advanced features. However, there are a few downsides to this approach in my eyes. First, it's not immediately obvious or intuitive how you actually edit your product demo, which can be a bit tricky if you're trying to onboard a lot of colleagues. Second, it's difficult to see what your demo will actually look like, because in order to do that, you have to jump to a separate preview screen. And third, it means that if you're iterating on a product demo, you're going to be clicking a lot more than with other tools to achieve a similar result. For example, if I want to move an annotation, I have to click Reselect Element, where I select an element on the screen which the annotation will be attached to. In comparison, moving an annotation in HowdyGo and in other tools is just a matter of clicking and dragging it into a new position. The difference between Navattic's approach and HowdyGo, Storylane, Supademo, and Arcade is fairly obvious. The demo is front and center, with your steps listed on the left-hand side or the right-hand side of the screen. From here, you can instantly add text to your annotations, move them around by clicking and dragging, change the type, or make edits to your UI, which is a core piece of functionality in HTML-based interactive product demo software. So let's take a look at how each of the platforms approach this problem. But before I jump into that, if you're finding this video helpful, please give me a like or a subscribe. It really helps me to convince my co-founders that spending hours making these videos is a valuable use of my time. Thanks. HTML editing is a balancing act between how easy the editing tools are to understand and use, and the flexibility you have while editing. Reprise, Navattic, Storylane, and Supademo all lean toward maximum flexibility. When you click on an element, you are shown the raw HTML, which you can then edit and save. This gives you more control over the output, but takes a bit more time to make quick edits with, and depending on your team's technical skill, might be more flexibility than you want or need. On the flip side, HowdyGo and Arcade both take a more intuitive approach, allowing you to make point-and-click edits without needing to get into the weeds of the HTML itself. This approach extends to replacing images or logos, hiding elements in your UI, or applying blurs to content you want to redact. One underrated feature in HTML demos that I use all the time is the ability to adjust the scroll position of a screen after you've captured it. It's saved my bacon so many times when editing by letting me duplicate a screen and then tweaking the view rather than going and re-recording something. I found this functionality in HowdyGo, Navattic, and Supademo, but wasn't able to find it in Storylane, Reprise, or Arcade. To create rich interactive product demos, you probably want to do things like adding zooms. Not all platforms allow you to do this. For example, both Reprise and Navattic don't provide this functionality. HowdyGo, Arcade, and Supademo will allow you to place a box on the screen where you'd like the zoom to be and adjust how much you'd like to zoom. Storylane does that too, but doesn't allow you to change where it zooms to. Instead, it defaults to the position of your annotation and only allows you to adjust in 20% increments. All of the demo tools we looked at let you create chapters or checklists in your demo to show progress and let the viewer navigate between sections, with no real difference between them in functionality. Chapters are really helpful for breaking up a much longer demo, so I always recommend you use these if you're showing off a lot of features. But there's also an alternative to that, which is using demo collections, which we'll get onto in the distribution section of this video. Incorporating lead capture forms is available on all platforms, with HowdyGo, Arcade, Supademo, and Storylane all taking a familiar approach to creating your form, with new fields being added directly from the demo editor. Navattic also allows you to add forms, but takes a different approach with a completely separate form building UI, which is detached from the demo itself. This means they have more functionality, but it's undoubtedly a slower process than changing it directly from your demo. It means you can't really tell what it looks like without previewing the demo itself. In saying that, I really liked Navattic's approach to displaying the leads that were captured, which we'll get into a little later in the demo. Inserting new steps into an existing demo was possible on all platforms, and the ability to bring in screens from existing demos was also possible across all platforms. All of the tools also allow you to change the color and fonts of your demos, with some giving you granular controls for individual hotspots or annotations, and others applying a consistent theme across all of your demos at once. You can add videos and voiceovers to your demos in all of these tools, whether by recording yourself or using AI. Arcade and Supademo also let you add background music from a library to your interactive product demos. Then of course, there's the AI features. Let's take a look at those now. Carrying on from the video and voiceover topic, all of these platforms will let you generate text-to-speech in a variety of different voices and languages. Storylane stands out in this category with a built-in avatar generator, although I still get a little bit of uncanny valley from those. And obviously this locks you into one specific provider that they've already got an integration with. If you're already using an avatar generator like HeyGen or Synthesia, those videos can be uploaded directly to your interactive product demo on all of these platforms. Storylane, Arcade, Navattic, and Supademo will try to generate annotation text for you, and guess what your recording was about. The quality of the output was a real mixed bag. Sometimes it was impressive, other times it was slow to generate or the output was unusable. If you're expecting a completely hands-off demo creation process, unfortunately, it's not here yet. If this is important to you, I expect a lot of investment from all platforms into this over the next 12 months, so it's worth checking the platforms out for their latest offerings. Other applications of AI that are worth calling out: Navattic allows you to generate UI edits, particularly on tables of data, and although we did find this a little bit finicky to use, the outputs were actually very usable. I did have to speed this footage up in the end because it was taking quite a while, but it was quite a large table of data to edit, and the output did make sense in the end. It's just a question of whether or not this is quicker than making those edits yourself. And the last use of AI that we liked was the ability to translate demos into different languages. This was something we saw in Arcade, Storylane, and Supademo. And we'll definitely be using this as a bit of inspiration for HowdyGo, so I'd expect to see that in our platform pretty soon. To sum up the editing functionality of these platforms, all of them will give you more flexibility than a video editing tool, for example. But the question isn't really which platform gives you the most tools, because giving you everything under the sun is only useful if you can actually figure out how to use it all. At HowdyGo, we've tried our best to thoughtfully implement every feature, and we often get feedback from new customers that the platform is easier to use than our competitors. So if this is an important aspect of your selection criteria, you should absolutely take advantage of our 2-week free trial. We've talked a lot about editing functionality, but once you've finished editing your demo, you obviously want to be able to share it with people. So let's take a look at that now. I've broken sharing and distribution down into 4 sections. Sharing a link with a person, embedding a demo into your website, exporting your demo as a video, and bringing together multiple demos. All platforms allow you to share a link to one specific demo. You copy the link and send it off via email or LinkedIn, wherever you're chatting with your prospect. You can also personalize your demos using URL parameters on all platforms, which can be handy for some basic name or company detail replacements in an email campaign, for instance. Equally, all platforms will allow you to embed your demo into your website. There's little differentiation here, but when we discuss tracking and data collection shortly, there are a few things worth calling out. Embedding these demos into a website or even in-app to act as a tour for users is generally quite easy, and they are all essentially just iframes. Most content management systems make it really easy to add these to your website. As an example, in Webflow, you can just use an embed block on the page. These tools can also be a helpful video editor, particularly when paired with the HTML editing functionality. At HowdyGo, we put a lot of effort into our export capabilities. In particular, we export your demos at a higher resolution so that when you include a zoom effect, there's no pixelation of the content. Arcade also delivered a good quality export. Other platforms, particularly Storylane and Navattic, seem to export with little, if any, optimization applied to the videos. So if this is a key feature for you, I would verify that you're happy with the outputs from those platforms before proceeding. And finally, the ability to bring together multiple demos into one place was not available on all platforms. Notably, Navattic does not include this functionality. The other platforms all have a different name for a similar feature: demo collections, demo hubs, product hubs. These are a quick way to combine multiple interactive demos on one page, and in HowdyGo, you can also upload your existing product explainer videos. You can share these pages as a link or embed them into a website for a turnkey solution without needing to involve designers. Our customers also like to use these for onboarding specific clients, as they can be really quick to duplicate and personalize. This brings me on to analytics, tracking, and CRM integrations. For demo optimization analytics, HowdyGo and Arcade stood out for providing an easy to understand breakdown of your demo performance, allowing you to spot potential areas of improvement for your demos. Optimization analytics are most helpful for users who are embedding demos into their website and have a reasonable volume of traffic. This is most helpful for product-led growth style companies where increasing product awareness is a key aspect of your go-to-market strategy. All platforms included some capability to send viewing data into tools like Google Analytics, Segment, and HubSpot Marketing Hub. If you're a sales-led organization, you might be more interested in tracking who has viewed your product demo when it's been shared directly with them. Or if you've got limited inbound web traffic, incorporating lead capture forms into your product demos and sending those leads directly to your CRM will probably give you the most benefit. All of these platforms will send data directly into most popular CRMs, including HubSpot and Salesforce. If you use a more niche CRM and integrating this data is very important to you, it's worth checking with the platforms themselves, although you can always export this data directly from the platforms as a CSV file, or use something like Zapier or N8N. This data can be used to trigger workflows, perform lead scoring, and generally provide your sales team with more awareness of a prospect's understanding of your product before they head into a call. Of all platforms, Navattic seemed to have the best laid out lead tracking data, collecting information by company and at an individual level where it was available. They use a combination of on-site JavaScript tracking and personalized links to achieve this, whereas other platforms like Storylane seem to use a de-anonymization tool, which I'm always a bit wary of because the data quality can be an issue. The more capabilities you need from a data and integration perspective, the more money you'll have to spend. So let's talk about price. There are really two overarching categories here: the enterprise-only tools and the tools which cover the needs of most companies right up to maybe 1,000 users. The enterprise-only tools are Reprise and Demostack. They start at over $40,000 per annum, and for that you'll get all the bells and whistles as well as all the support, security, and account management that you'd expect for an enterprise product. That's not to say that they are necessarily a great choice, even for large enterprises, because the learning curve is undoubtedly steeper with these tools, and that can be a challenge for adoption. The rest of the tools, HowdyGo, Storylane, Navattic, Supademo, and Arcade, all come in different packages, so I'll do my best to help summarize the key differences. To ensure we're comparing apples with apples, HTML demos are more expensive than screenshot-based demos. HTML demos give you more editing flexibility, more opportunities to personalize your demos, more time saving, a better viewing experience, and from my perspective, are what you should be looking at if you're looking at interactive product demos. If you're not interested in HTML demos, I'd probably look at Arcade, because in my opinion, they offer the best user experience for that product segment. And generally speaking, they release new features first and are quickly copied by the other tools. If you want to get the most value out of your interactive demo tool though, HTML is really where you start to see the true benefits of these platforms. So within the HTML category, let's talk about what's on offer. HowdyGo offers the best bang for your buck. We are the only tool which offers unlimited users. So as more of your team start using the platform, the price doesn't magically change. We also offer a discount to other bootstrapped companies via chat. Supademo, Storylane, Navattic, and Arcade all charge on a per user basis, and they all start with a minimum of 5 users. Comparing the price of these different platforms and packages is obviously very difficult because each platform uses a different name for the same feature and they bundle things slightly differently. So here's my take on how you can choose an interactive product demo platform for yourself. For most companies, the main problem you're trying to solve with an interactive product demo tool is demoing your product. So, can the platform record, edit, and share your product demos the way that you'd like to? The best way to find that out is by using the free trials that these platforms make available to you, and make sure you ask them for access to the HTML functionality. The first question to answer when it comes to price is obviously, how many users do you expect to have creating and editing interactive product demos on the tool that you end up selecting? Regardless of the answer to that question, HowdyGo offers the best value for money with unlimited users and unlimited demos on both of our packages. However, if you are considering one of these other tools, just be mindful to keep the number of users that you have in mind to a bare minimum, at least initially, until you've had the opportunity to see how well the platform is being adopted. That really comes around to which platform is the most intuitive. And as I mentioned, the best way to find that out is to try each of these platforms out for yourself. The next question to consider is whether your go-to-market strategy is primarily sales-led or product-led. If it's product-led, I would encourage you to consider one of the interactive product demo tools that offers either a demo collection or a demo hub, a place where you can bring multiple interactive product demos together and ideally put them side by side with video content as well, so that it's easier for you to show off more aspects of your product. If your company is more sales-led, then you should consider the way that you're actually going to be sharing these product demos, how you're going to go about tracking the views that come through on those product demos. But I'd also consider how intuitive the platform is to use for personalization purposes. That is an important aspect when it comes to adoption, particularly when you're working with sales teams who have conflicting priorities and don't necessarily have the time to learn a new product demo tool. HowdyGo is the easiest and most intuitive platform to get started with HTML interactive product demos. When I compare that to other platforms, Navattic has a steeper learning curve. They have great data and integrations, but it will take you a little bit more time to get familiar with the platform and start using it to its full extent. Storylane is quite feature rich, but for me feels a little bit less polished. Arcade and Supademo are both fairly new to the HTML interactive product demo market. Arcade has invested a lot of time and energy into their user experience, and they are probably the most design forward interactive product demo tool on the market. Regardless of which platform you end up selecting, interactive demos will change the way that you approach demoing your product to prospects and customers. I have tutorial videos on my YouTube covering how you can create an interactive demo where I interview a founder and understand what their go-to-market strategy looks like, and then build an interactive demo to match that. And I also have other deep dive videos into product demo software in a more general sense, covering video editing, interactive demos, and of course, sandbox functionality, which a lot of these tools actually provide as well. So I encourage you to head over to my YouTube channel and check out some more of those videos. Again, if this video has been helpful to you, please like or subscribe to my channel. It goes a long way. And of course, head over to howdygo.com in order to sign up for a 2-week free trial. We'd love to see you over there. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.